Since even before Marvel Studios shocked everybody by announcing that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be returning to the MCU as the one and only Doctor Doom, all eyes have been on the next Avengers film, which was originally going to be Kang Dynasty and of course is now Avengers Doomsday. And actually I did read quite a few comments before it was announced that Robert Downey Jr. was returning from people stating stuff like, imagine if Robert Downey Jr. returns as Doom. So let me know in the comments if you were actually shocked by this announcement or if this was something you kind of expected. Regardless, all eyes are now on Avengers Doomsday because it is the first Avengers film that we're going to be getting since Avengers Endgame. It's crazy to think that Avengers Endgame came out in 2019. And when the film finally does come out on May 1st of 2026, it will be over 7 years since the last Avengers film, Endgame. That's crazy, but they're coming in with a bang. Robert Downey Jr. returns as Doctor Doom, and it looks like his character is going to be the prime focus of Avengers Doomsday. Now, that might sound like it's pretty obvious, but it's actually quite a lot bigger than you think it really is. And it's a lot better than you think it's going to be. And that's because one of the biggest concerns for a lot of fans out there is that Doctor Doom is not going to really have enough time to be built up. There's so much story to Doctor Doom, from Latveria to Reed Richards to his relationship with Valeria Richards, his relationship with his former lover Valeria, his sorcery. He at one point in time becomes the Sorcerer Supreme in the comics. The story with his mother, the story with Mephisto. There's so much, and fans are wondering and are worried about how they're going to kind of fit all of this into the backstory of this Doctor Doom. Well, as it turns out, most of Avengers Doomsday is probably going to be devoted to telling the story of Doctor Doom. And honestly, this is the best news that we could have possibly gotten about this movie, because it's truly going to show us how big of a threat Doctor Doom actually is, how strong he is, and how much he can actually control when it comes to the multiverse. According to a report from the insider Daniel Richman, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be on the set of Avengers Doomsday filming for about 3 months. This is huge if you consider most of the other main actors will only be filming for about 1 month, with the more smaller supporting roles only shooting for about a week or 2 weeks. And to top it all off, the entire production is expected to only take around 5 months. So for the 5 months that they're in production, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be there for 3 of those months shooting for Doctor Doom. So that right there already tells us that the focus of Avengers Doomsday is actually going to be Doctor Doom, but not just the Avengers taking on Doctor Doom. Obviously, when you have a movie titled Doomsday, you're going to focus on Doctor Doom, but with the other Avengers movies, a lot of the focus, of course, is on the Avengers, the other part of the title. For Avengers Age of Ultron, yes, Ultron was the villain. Yes, you focused on him a good amount, but there's a lot of story being told about the Avengers and them as a team. There's never typically a bigger focus on the villain, at least screen time wise, than there is on the actual Avengers team. However, it looks like Avengers Doomsday is going to change that, and I'm glad, because the only time that is right now reported that we're going to see Doctor Doom before Doomsday is going to be what has been described as a cameo appearance in the Fantastic Four: The First Steps. So that is not nearly enough to establish any type of background or story for Victor Von Doom in the MCU, but knowing that Robert Downey Jr. is shooting as Doctor Doom for 3 months on the set instead of 1 month compared to everybody else brings a lot of hope that we're going to dive into a big backstory for Doctor Doom, which we absolutely need. You just can't throw him in there and have him be such an incredibly powerful villain that can defeat the Avengers without really telling us why he's so powerful. I mean, you could, but the best villains are the ones where we know why they're doing what they're doing. And the Russo brothers did an incredible job with this with Thanos, who has been reported to be returning, possibly in Avengers Doomsday, as a part of some sort of an army or alliance that Doctor Doom has. If this happens, would you be excited about that or not? I think it's actually really good because I thought Thanos was such a huge villain, and although the movies definitely did him justice, and we saw him many times via post-credit scenes and brief cameo scenes in other movies throughout the entire Infinity Saga, I still thought he was such a huge villain, and I was just disappointed to see him die because I wanted to see him pop up again. But enter the Multiverse Saga, and having Doom lead some type of a team that has Thanos on it kind of sends chills up the spine. I'd love to see that. I'll do a video on it later, but let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. It's also pretty much expected that the main focus is going to be on Doom when you have the actor Robert Downey Jr., who played Iron Man, come back to play Doctor Doom. I mean, of course, we love the Avengers, but all eyes are going to be on Robert Downey Jr. All eyes are going to be on Doom, and really how they throw him into this story. But that's the great news that comes with this report. Marvel Studios realizes that if we're going to connect with this character, we are going to have to know about this character, especially for those who do not really know anything about Doctor Doom. And we've actually heard from Alex Perez at the Cosmic Circus that this Doctor Doom is going to be a very particular Doctor Doom, Rabam Alal. In the comics, Rabam Alal is Doctor Doom, but it's a name that he takes on, a disguise that he takes on, as he actually tries to save the multiverse. He realizes what is happening, and he can go throughout different points in time, and he can actually go into a place that's outside of space and time, the Library of Worlds. This is how Doctor Doom in the comics manages to travel throughout the entire multiverse, and this is also kind of a way to where he can replace Kang. Kang, of course, was the giant multiversal threat before Doom came in, but the threat of Kang and the Council of Kangs was that they could go throughout the entire multiverse and different points in time in the multiverse. So they could go to any universe they want, and they could go to any point in time in that universe that they want. This is how they kind of swap the villains out here. The Library of Worlds allows Doctor Doom to essentially do the same thing. Now, Reed Richards also does at the same time in the comics develop a multiverse travel device as well, and he uses this to communicate with the Council of Reeds. The Council of Reeds is basically an organization of all of the Reed Richards throughout the multiverse. Well, not all, but a good handful of them. Perhaps Doctor Doom gets his hands on this technology as well, since he is going to be appearing, at least very briefly, in the Fantastic Four film. Perhaps that is why, to kind of establish that he knows Reed Richards a little bit, but he knows of his work as well, because Alex Perez from the Cosmic Circus also stated that the relationship between Reed and Doom isn't going to be as big as it is in the comics. But one way it's being described is kind of how Thanos knew Tony. They didn't exactly know each other per se, but Thanos knew of Tony Stark. It's probably going to be something very similar, but they're going to actually know each other since he's going to cameo in the Fantastic Four film. But perhaps they won't say that they went to college together and they have a long history of rivalry and knowing each other. But instead, Doom will have known about Reed's work for a long time, and probably vice versa as well. But the good news is, it sounds like Avengers Doomsday is going to show us all of that. It seems like a decent amount of this is going to be dedicated to telling us who Doctor Doom is and why he is such a big threat. So much so that the movie seems to be more about him than the actual Avengers team, which, if you kind of consider the state of the Avengers in the MCU right now, kind of does make sense. In Avengers Doomsday, the Avengers are really going to have to be assembled. So a good majority of the movie might be about Doctor Doom, might be about the threat of the multiverse, might be about the Avengers realizing that there is a big threat coming and it looks like it's Doctor Doom, but it looks like they might not assemble until about midway into the movie, and then of course at the end when they try to take him on. But we're assuming that the multiverse is not saved by the end of the movie, and they do not defeat Doctor Doom, and that's how we go into Avengers Secret Wars. And we've actually heard that everything that takes place in between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars will take place on Battleworld, which is what Doctor Doom creates in the Secret Wars comics. And we've heard this from a couple different insiders at this point in time already, Daniel RPK and Alex Perez from the Cosmic Circus. So the good news is Doctor Doom is going to get the introduction into the MCU that he deserves. They are going to give him time. They're going to essentially set him up properly instead of just inserting him in really quickly and having him just be the villain out of nowhere. It's something that really needed to be done, especially since Marvel Studios moved away from Kang, who they already spent a decent amount of time setting up. We have no setup for Doom. No one knows who Doom is right now, except for maybe the Fantastic Four. But we'll dive into that next year and then the year after in Avengers Doomsday. In the meantime, let me know what you think about this. Are you excited that Doomsday is primarily going to focus on Doctor Doom or not? Would you have it another way? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all things with the MCU. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.